We got your sonic cup. Whoa. Echo, echo, echo.
You need it somewhere else.
Hello? 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 Are we echoing?
Hello? There we go. Well, when I leave the sound on the TV,
it's just doubling back.
Yeah, it'll go through.
All right.
Oh my gosh. The Knights at the Round Table. What's up, everybody?
Hello, hello. Are we recording right now?
Oh yeah, we're live. We're rolling. We'll
We
ease
are
into it.
live.
Got Shayna over there on her phone.
Hi.
Is it on airplane mode?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Oh, sweet tequila.
Sweet baby Lord. Tequila.
Super tequila.
Super tequila.
Did you get the notes, Shayna?
I got
Is that
it.
what you're looking at right now?
I'm reviewing the topics for this evening, yes.
So, I want to talk about why black people are black.
They have extra melanin in their skin.
But why?
That's how the Lord made them.
You know, I've actually got some real interesting information on that, and I don't know if anyone's really ready for it.
I want to hear it.
I want to hear it.
But supposedly, like, way back in time, when the Anunnakis were here,
Oh, I love Anunnaki facts.
there was essentially, you know, in different parts of the globe, the same Anunnaki tribes, right? There was different individuals throughout these Anunnakis that were essentially, like, praised as gods and, like, pharaohs and deities and all that. And so basically our genetic structure, our lineage actually comes from them. And so based off of where our lineage or wherever the person in that time was born at, they were actually branded with the genetic code. So that way one area of the globe would know that that's your human.
Yep.
And so, because we were a slave race, essentially, all of us, not just one, but all of us were, and we didn't even know we were slave races. We worshipped them as gods, and we thought that
you only knew when you went to a different part of the world, that you didn't belong in that part of the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
it was a really good way to keep track of slaves.
Yeah,
too.
it's just like branding cows, you know, so you know who the owner is. We were just branded with a genetic code, and hence we have different color pigment in our skin. And
is that with all races then? We're kind of like that?
All races come back from a lineage of that. Yeah, absolutely. And so, and like, even like with the Anunnaki leaders at that point in time, essentially they even got tired of like being here. And so they mated with humanoids, right? Or hominoids. And then so the genetic, that's like a lot of the reason why the humans that were bred with their genetics, like the real high ups, the ones that still had the abilities and the powers and could really show that to the people, they bred within their own families to try to hang on to that genetic code for as long as possible. Because as soon as they started breeding outside of the genetic code, it just got watered down essentially until where we all actually have part of that genetic code in our biome. And
sounds like the Nephilim in the Old Testament.
Same thing. Yeah.
Sounds like
Nephilim,
that exact story.
Exactly
Anunnakis. Yeah, it's all from the same brain, if you will, of time periods.
Is it the Nephilim or the Anunnakis that had 6 fingers?
You know, I don't know that much detail to it. I do know with like the Nephilims and the Anunnakis, you know, they were considered as like giants, and there was like they had like 2 different types of, you know. They had like the champion breed of giants, and then they had like the dysmorphia breed of giants that were very, you know, dysmorphed and like
Dylan.
Yeah, but big, right? Big Dylan. He'd be in the champion breed. That dude's a fucking piece of art.
Yeah.
6'7", 280 pounds of pure muscle.
Oh, we're all a little jealous, Dylan, if you're hearing this.
His limbs are just like a different size than any other human I've ever seen. Like from his knee to his ankle.
That's what she said.
Yeah. Well.
From his knee to his ankle.
Yeah.
Or like from his elbow to his like, you know, hand. It's like so long.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have any of that problem at all. I'm very compact. I am a carry-on.
I am a carry-on, he said.
Snack size.
But welcome everybody as we're easing into this. This is the Diesel Daddy Podcast here for another session to bring you some beautiful information. We're going to take a little walk on a spirit talk.
We're getting spiritual. Welcome to the podcast where we talk about everything except diesel trucks, apparently. So if anybody's actually wondering why we call it this, for a living, we buy diesel trucks and sell them to the public. So now that we've clarified that, so the story or the podcast doesn't sound aimless and stupid, even though it probably still is, that's where we started our business journey.
The segue, yes.
The segue.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, man. So let's just jump right into it. Diesel Dad's going to get a little spiritual today, and you know, from kind of what I said, reading what you wanted to talk about, we're going to get into the 2 choices of awakening. So why don't you explain to me why you decided that and why that's important to you, and segue straight into it.
Absolutely, Diesel Daddy Dollins. I'll get right to that. So our first topic of the night is 2 choices of awakening. Well, first off, it's kind of important to understand, what does it mean to awaken, right? And basically what it means to awaken is to have a new state of realization about who you are, where you come from, and what your purpose is here, right? And some people, you know, they'll say, oh, well, we started our journey, our awakening journey at this, you know, but ultimately what it is just the ability to enhance your awareness about what's really taking place here, okay? So that's just what awakening means, is to realize something you didn't already realize, okay? Mm-hmm. And so once we realize that we're all in this ascension journey, right? We're all souls, a part of a collective, part of one thing, which is a beautiful source of loving and benevolent energy that gives life to all things, us, the chairs, the tables, the trees, the nature, the planets, and everything in existence, right? We all are all a part of that one beautiful soul. And so we are on this ascension, right? We're on this journey to evolve our souls and to essentially go through these different schools, right? Earth would be a school. It's a very tough school, but it is one of the schools. It's a 3rd density planet. We had started out as a 3rd density planet when we arrived here, when we were born. And she as well is going through her own ascension. And she is now graduating into the 4th density. And so since we're souls incarnate on this earth during this time period, we all started out in the 3rd density. And since Mother Earth is graduating into a 4th density ascension, all of the souls on her back, us and the animals and everything involved, also have the opportunity to graduate into the next density of experience, which would be like the next grade, if you will, in our soul journey evolution, or our soul school evolution. Does that make sense so far?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so break it down. I know we talked about it in the last podcast as we hone this in like 5 sentences or less. Explain what densities are.
Okay, so you have densities and dimensions, okay? 2 of the same but different, okay? Now, a density is, in my best way to describe it in very little words, is the experience or the lessons. It's the level of experience and lessons that we go through, right? Which would be the density of that realm. Everyone and everything, every soul starts at the 1st density and then evolves up through, I mean, for really ultimately it's infinite, but in this octave, we can just call it 12 densities. Mm-hmm. Okay. 1st density would be like the density of being, right? So earth, wind, water, dirt, elements, if you will. 2nd density would be like plant life, animal life. Animals would be actually a very high end of that density, higher octave of that density, close to graduation, right? 3rd density, you get a mind, body, spirit complex, which is something that you'll hear about us talk quite often, right? A mind, body, spirit complex is an avatar or a body, right? That also has a mind and a spirit with it, right? And that's what we are. We're a 3rd density collective, humanoids, and we have a mind, a body, and a spirit complex. That would be 3rd density. 4th density is the density of love and unity, okay, and oneness. And so in the 3rd density, right, we experience separation, duality, and polarity. And so it allows us to become aware of oneself in an environment apart from everything else. Now, when we get to the end of the third density, which is where we're in this graduation window or this transition, right? We're transitioning from a state of separateness or a state of duality into the fourth density, which is a state of singularity. And realizing that even though we have a body, we're not actually separate from each other or anything else in creation. We're actually a part of the whole. Mm-hmm. So that'd be like 1 through 4. Now, I can give better example of those because we've experienced 1 through 4, mm-hmm. right? As you move up into the fifth density and the sixth density, you start to move into what's called a light body, right? Into a collective, right? Which is basically like a soup of souls, if you will. Mm-hmm. And then higher and higher and higher, closer and closer we get to God, the experiences get more expansive and more love and more awareness of what true love and oneness actually is. And so I know that was kind of vague, but the more you follow, the more you study, the more you dive in, the more you'll begin to understand. So just keep listening and we'll keep talking.
So how does this compare with like religion? Okay. So like Christianity or any religion, I guess, that have their dogma that they believe. We've discussed like our personal beliefs and stuff, but like comparing the two, how do you cast away one belief into the spiritual belief that you have now, and what is the difference in how these two beliefs? Obviously, with religion, there's heaven and hell and doing good, and how does your beliefs differ from that?
No, absolutely. Well, and like one of the topics we're going to get into tonight is how to change the perception of your environment. Mm-hmm. Right. Well, an environment is simply mental. Okay. Now, I know that might be tough to swallow for most people, but everything we see and experience is happening inside of our head. We're not actually seeing something outside of us, mm-hmm. right? Because we are that thing that's outside of us. That's a big loophole.
Yeah, absolutely.
But let's get back to the question. We
agree that we've all created our own environments that we're living in now.
Your own reality.
I guess, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, but it's happening inside, right? You don't actually see it. Your eyes are optical. Mm-hmm. They send a signal, electronic signal through a nerve into the brain, which fires and wires and creates an image inside your head. Mm-hmm. And that's what we think we see outside of us, mm-hmm. right? But let's get back to the question. So the difference, really, ultimately, there is no difference, okay, other than how you perceive it. So you're going to have one perception that, Christianity and the religion and the Bible fall one very strict way, right? And that way we can get real controversial with. That way is as Jesus Christ being the one and only sole Savior, right? Which, again, I love Jesus. His real name was not Jesus, by the way. It was Yeshua. It just kind of, it really boggles me that everyone says Jesus because that is not his name. Jesus actually means Jesus, right? Which comes a long way before the Bible, which means Hail Zeus. So every time someone says, in the name of Jesus, they're going, Hail Zeus. Which is a different entity, and if we're really looking at Christianity and religion, it's just completely
blasphemous, very blasphemous. It's the first commandment. You shall have no other gods before me. Yeah,
it's ass backwards, right? And so
I think I use the name Jesus because it's what's commonly accepted for the character I'm trying to talk about, and without trying to just say Yeshua everywhere, mm-hmm. making it look weird. I just say Jesus.
Yeah, well, it's not weird. Your name's not weird, Nick. Well, and so I call you by Nick. And Yeshua, his name is not weird, so that's what I like to call him. But here, let's talk about it, right? I believe Yeshua walked upon this earth, and I believe he was one of the great deities, right, entities that walked this earth and was teaching exactly what we're talking about. There's a time period in the Bible from like the age of 7 to 30 or 31.
We know nothing about
32,
Jesus.
That he was just gone from the Bible.
Yeah.
Okay? So
born and then missing for quite some time.
For anyone that's made it to the age of 30, which we all have here at this table, mm-hmm. we know that between the ages of 7 and 30, you go through a whole lot of life experience.
A lot goes down.
Right? You might go to some different schools. You might have some different jobs. You might meet some different teachers along the way, mentors along the way. You may travel abroad some, right? And you have all these different experiences that when you reach that age of 30, you're able to bring to the mass, to the public, to your friends, and to your family in a different way than what you were when you were in the Bible at 7. Mm-hmm. Right? And so some of the studies and things that I've researched and have learned is that during this time period, Yeshua actually spent a lot of time traveling around in that day to some of the greatest, what would be like universities today, right? The Essenes, he went over to China, he went to India, he traveled to all these great places, visited monasteries, visited all these different things, right? Really experiencing the different realities and teachings of the world, and then pop back in the Bible about age 30, 31, right? And even from that age until the so-called crucifixion, which maybe or maybe it didn't happen, right? Another controversial talk that we'll get into later. Jesus pops back in, or Yeshua pops back in, and he goes around teaching people how to be as he is, right?
In the vibration of love.
In the vibration of love. Mm-hmm. He says many times to the Bible, you can do as I do. You'll do better than what I do, right? The only way to God is through me, right? So if you're teaching oneness or singularity, I don't say, hey, you apart from me, you have to worship something outside of you in order to be saved.
To get to me.
Right?
Yeah.
You are as I am. Right? And what a lot of people don't realize is that phrase right there, I am. That is the isness that we are. I am that I am. Right. One time someone had put it into abbreviation for me, and they said, hey, Josh, do you know what I am means? And I was like, well, no. He was like, Intergalactic Alliance of Masters. I am. Intergalactic
Wait, so hold on.
Alliance of Masters. I-A-M.
Oh, that's an acronym?
I am.
Now, where did you hear that? That seems like it was just slung together.
Someone just made that up.
Yeah.
It wasn't just slung together. I actually heard that from Aaron Abke in one of his teachings quite a while ago.
Where did he hear it from, though? Because I do, from you introducing me to Aaron Abke, respect him a lot, but...
Yeah, he's incredible. I'll have to look back exactly on that. I don't know. But I always brought that with me, right? And so, because sometimes it's like, well, the word I am doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to someone. And so...
Well, and the Bible says, I am the great I am. So.
Exactly, right? But everybody looks over those two little words, right? The I am is what is all things, right? I am love, I am this, I am that. And when we state that phrase prior to the statement... That is the commandment. That is the world we are creating. So when I say I'm so mad right now, right? What I am asking for is my higher self, right? Which is a part of all that is, which is me. I am that, and that is me, right? I say I am giving a command. So affirmations and stuff like that. I am beautiful. I am happy. I am whole. All is well and balanced with me. I am all that is. I have everything that I need, right, in all times. I am that I am. So be it and so it is, right? That's how we would speak into existence through spelling, right? And spelling is utilizing words in a way and formations and patterns that give us what it is that we're asking for. Getting a little far off topic here, but let's get back to the difference. And so, again, if we look back to originating scriptures and Bibles, prior to the new generation translations, which was like 20 books ago. Okay.
Really, yeah. Only the 1800s.
Yeah.
We've got like 6 new versions.
And then how about this? So the King James Bible, right, the original one, I can't remember what year it was, 1966 or something like that.
Well, my dad was born in 65, so
maybe
I think it was
16.
No, I think it was
1600s. I always flip-flop that. I think I did that last time. 1699 maybe.
Yeah, no, he was in the office. He was like, oh yeah, the King James version was written in 1965. I was like, I don't think that's right.
I always flip-flop that. So it was in the 1600s. The original King James Bible, look it up and see what year it was written. Even before that, there was the Sinai Bible, right? Even before that, there was the Emerald Tablets. There was, all these different ancient writings and scriptures and hieroglyphics and all these different things that were recorded way long before the Bible ever came along that spoke the teachings of Yeshua in those scriptures, but it was before Yeshua was even born,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, again, I don't think Christianity or religion, foresaid, is different than spirituality. It's just simply about how you've been conditioned to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
the lens that you look through religion at is usually what was just taught to you as a child.
Exactly. Is it your lens, or was it a
Someone
lens
else's
that was
lens
taught to you
put
from
on
childhood?
you. Yeah.
So, like, on that,
1611
So-
too is when the King James was.
1611.
1611. I knew it
Yes.
was somewhere around there.
So, like, I know of Christianity, and I think the majority of people that are, religious in any sense, no matter what you believe, was from doctrines and dogma that were taught to you, that were taught to your grandparents and passed on. And, spirituality is a lot newer to me. How did this information get, there is, with religion, there is somewhat of a documented source of where you're actually deriving your beliefs from. How does that happen with these spiritual beliefs, and I guess what gives them the merit to
absolutely.
be accurate?
Well, again, the spirituality originated from what we now call religion.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if we look back to ancient religions, Tibetan, India, all these other places that were recording so-called religions long before Christianity ever came along. Christianity was used to enslave, rape, kill, and control in the beginning.
Absolutely.
That's what it was used for.
It was used to take over kingdoms.
It was
sure.
used to take over kingdoms, right? And so, again, religion is just something, a term or an idea that we label these teachings, right? Because that's what we do as humans. We like to label and attach to things. And so, again, religion and spirituality are not different. And these teachings and these things that we talk about, if you dive into the different so-called religions of the world outside of Christianity, you'll realize that these are what's being said. So the Buddha, Eightfold Path, right? Right consciousness, right livelihood, right thinking, right? All of these things are just base teachings of what it was that Yeshua in the Bible was teaching about.
And
so
the 8 pillars of Islam are exactly the same as the Buddhist beliefs. And
exactly.
Yeah.
The Vedas and the Emerald Tablets go back to ancient Egyptian, scriptures and religions. Again, we just created this term religion somewhere along the way, and we're like, you're either religious or you're not.
Yeah, it was like it was created for a way to divide,
Mm-hmm.
And from what I've learned, or just that they're all saying the same thing, and I think what people get most offended about is when I say something that I guess in a way discredits the Bible, it's just an immediate defense and fire, like you're absolutely wrong, you're going to hell or whatever, and not realizing that what I'm saying and what the Bible's saying is actually the same exact thing.
Same thing.
And just to think that the Bible has any source of authority over anything is a little bit bizarre when you really look into it, because one, it's the most manipulated text on the planet.
It's the only religious text that's been manipulated.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And it just develops this following, like a cult-like following of we're saying the same things. And even if you talk to a Christian or debate in any way, we're saying the same things, but there's still a division there because we're taught that this is the absolutely only way. But even though so I don't say that I'm a Christian anymore. I say I'm a follower of Jesus, Yeshua. Mm-hmm. And I believe in all his teachings, and anything after his existence was just, people trying to explain to other people and spread the message, and they're just faulty letters. All they are is just letters to other communities of people just trying to be better.
Me and Nick have talked about this before. It's you're really following a letter that somebody else wrote to somebody, thousands of years ago, and then you're basing your life on it. That'd be like if I wrote him a letter about what I went through in 2022 or something, and then you're like, oh, wow, that's enlightening. I'm going to base my life off of that.
None of which were written by God or Yeshua.
Right. So it's kind of wild, I took, Nick knows this, but I took a world religions class, and I go to a Christian college, and it blew my mind. It actually blew my mind, because I went back way farther than Christianity, and that really shook your, I won't say shook your faith. It did.
Well, it shook the
changed
strongholds of what you really believed about,
It
what
shaped
you were
my-
reading every day.
It shaped my perceptions of what I believed and why I believed it. It made me like deconstruct, like, okay, well, like, why do I believe this to be true? And what was prior to Christianity that was so similar, is crazy.
And they're all the exact same. Like, we're reading through all these different world religions through ancient times, and they were all literally saying the same exact thing.
Yeah.
There was no difference.
Yeah. It was just slightly different.
Well,
And
I mean,
the
I say no
prophet-
difference, but it's
the
like you can
prophet-
literally just see the same theme, and it might be slightly different
It
people.
was just a
and little bit.
prophet that was different. You had Muhammad, you had Buddha, and there's the prophet that delivered the message. They're still delivering the same message. It's just who delivered it,
Yeah, but and again, I don't follow Yeshua because I believe that the only way to heaven is to believe that he died for my sins, and that's the only way that I get in heaven. I do, however, follow Jesus's or Yeshua's teachings because I believe that both Yeshua and myself are one and the same. I'm not saying that I am Yeshua. Please hear me clearly. But I do understand that there is only one thing going on here, and that is unconditional benevolent love. And if there is no separateness of anything or anyone, not one of us can save the other, period.
Amen.
Save yourself.
And just like what you said, unconditional love. Okay. So, one of the things that really started my journey was if God's love is truly unconditional, if the only way to get into heaven is by a certain condition, then therefore he's not a creator of unconditional love. Mm-hmm. So how could that, possibly be?
Mm-hmm.
But
another thing is I don't believe that heaven or hell are places outside of us, and there's not somewhere we're trying to get. I believe that we are all angels in heaven here and now, and heaven is here and now. And again, it's not that we're discrediting the Bible. What we're doing is we're bringing information to discredit your belief of what you perceive the Bible to be.
And and to that, so the person that wrote the New Testament, which is the core foundation belief of Christianity, well, the majority of it that was a credit to him, the Apostle Paul, never once said a word about hell. Not one single time throughout the entire New Testament. Mm-hmm. And what do you think, if it was kind of important at all, he would have said something about it? Not one thing. And Jesus himself didn't say, if you don't follow me, you'll be condemned to an eternity in hell. Mm-hmm. Now, he did speak about a situation where there would be a duality and separation, which I believe you can create for yourself, and you will end up getting there. But there's not a place where you'll just be eternally tormented for all eternity, and there's absolutely no forgiveness whatsoever. Especially, like, how could the one person who came to show us forgiveness be unforgiving about anything? How could I do something that God can't do? Okay, yeah. I can forgive you for not believing in God, but God can't?
Well, here's the beautiful part. What we do is what God's doing.
100%.
Right? Because we are not separate from the beautiful source of infinite energy that God is. God is not a person, which is another belief I think a lot of people really believe in, is that God is this humanoid or this avatar or this body incarnate somewhere sitting on a throne ruling over us. Mm-hmm. Right, and that's a wild.
I think that's the
misconception.
biggest. I think that's the biggest struggle, is thinking that is actually the reality. I still kind of struggle with it sometimes, like really thinking about it. And I really have to really meditate and focus my thoughts into kind of correcting myself. But this thinking, if you ask anybody who has any type of religious background, I would guarantee you, as close to 100% of them would say that you are separate from God, and that's why we're struggling now. It's because we have fallen away from it, and it's entity that's completely separate away from us.
Or maybe we suffer because of the illusion of our separateness from God. Mm-hmm. Hence, why we would awaken within this reality to realize the truth of our benevolence.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this. So with religion and Christianity, Islam, whatever it is, there's a purpose here that we're supposed to do good and end up in a certain place. With spirituality, there seems to, really not be a reward outside. Well, okay, let me rephrase that. That they're like, we're doing something that's going to earn us
I know what
pleasure
you're saying.
in the afterlife. Okay. With spirituality, it seems to kind of just wash away with that. So how does somebody that,
Like there's
how do
no,
you find,
like there's
what's
no
your purpose?
end goal. There's
no
end, like
end goal.
heaven would be
And,
the end
you know,
goal
I was
with
thinking about this.
Christianity.
So like with, you know, with spirituality, you know, I guess the goal is to eventually become one with the Creator, back to nothing.
I think it's to raise your consciousness and awareness.
Well, so like I've read,
Maybe.
you know, which I'll tag these books in at the Law of One from Raw. You know, a black hole is basically a whole creation that becomes one with the Creator and then comes back to nothing, to what it originally was. You know, so I guess like, is that really the whole purpose?
Well, you know, here's my take on it, right? First off, there is no end game, right? We're infinite. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. We already know that, the law of thermodynamics. Okay, look it up. Some other things I would encourage everyone to look into and study is look into quantum physics, look into the new Resonance Science Academy teachings with the new mathematics and the new understandings, because they're able to teach. It's not like you're going to a school and you're having to learn how to write out all these numbers. It's not like that anymore, right? These people can teach it very simple and put it into perspective that you then understand the mechanics of what's really going on, okay? I would say that we are absolutely in the most beautiful divine purpose that we could ever experience, to be here right now in this time period, in this transition, in this creation. We are all the most beautiful, intelligent, and equipped souls of all creation from all over the entire map of any creation. And we came here together to help bring this world and to bring everyone else on this journey into the fourth density. That, my friend, is the most beautiful purpose any of us could ever wish for, right? Mm-hmm. So that's one. Number two is, right, there is no place called heaven, and there is no place called hell, right? It's here and now. You, as an infinite creator made of God, God you are, God I am, right, have the ability with our actions, our thoughts, and our deeds to create the world around us, right? So you can create a hell right now, and you can live and experience and waller in it and live through it, and that is a beautiful purpose you serve God. Because God is both what we see as negative and positive, is there is no separation. There are no foresaid demons, because even those demons we create would be made out of God. And God cannot know itself without also knowing what it is not simultaneously.
Do you think there's, because I've had some supernatural experiences that can't be unexplained, which at the time I referred to them as like demonic, you know, so, which to me they were very real. I remember it. It was we long story short, my family lived in a house that we thought, well, we found out, I guess, would be haunted, for, you know, layman's terms, and experiencing the things that had there that none of us, you know, really invited in intentionally anyways, or in any way, and experiencing that. So how could there not be some type of outside, you know, spiritual being outside of us that's trying to influence us?
Well, again, it's not outside of you, right? So here's one thing I'd like to share
But
with you. Before you came here,
yeah,
you mapped out every experience, every thought, and everything, every person, everywhere, every place, anything and everything that could happen, has happened, you already know. Okay? So
But it did happen to you from outside source.
So there was,
well, yeah.
again, it's not coming from the outside. Outside is just a reflection of the inside. Okay? So hear me out. Maybe, right, you were going to go through an experience with your family or whoever it was at that time, to be in a vibrational situation to where you created and experienced what seemed to be like an outside demonic being, right? Okay. And through your being raised in a very Christian realm, you had very deep belief systems that there were angels and devils and demons and this and that. And so
that makes a really good point. So like, you know, didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
but
you're
like good. To say to that, you know, if I would have never had any religious background whatsoever, it's existing.
that really,
then you
like,
wouldn't have had the same experience
Oh, I know.
because you wouldn't have been a
Well, there-
vibrational match.
and a fear too.
The
it
fear.
wouldn't have been a vibrational match for fear because that influenced your thought process to confirm, oh, that's real.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Well, what if you were just taught that everything outside of you was beautiful, benevolent, and an unconditional love? Then maybe these entities that you created mentally, because again, it's all happening inside your head, right, were beautiful and loving. But like Ms. Shana said, the fear, right, lowers your vibratory field. And wherever the vibratory field is, whatever we've created to match that field then has ability to access you.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, when I had a weird experience too, and I was probably the most fearful, negative time period of my life, and so it, like, I was living in constant fear at that time. So I was vibrating at a level where I could experience those things because I was not above it.
Absolutely.
I was on the same.
Well, and think about this too.
plane,
Okay, we are really, each of us are the only one here. That's another topic. Okay, but
We'll save that for another podcast.
we're also collectively creating an experience. So there are collective agreements that we as a collective have
I think
agreed
your
upon.
camera shut off.
My camera?
Yeah.
Has it been 10 minutes?
Been longer than that.
It's still on.
Still.
It's
Oh,
still, I can
there
see
you
it
go.
on this side.
Okay. Well, all right. We lost the feed.
There we
go.
are.
We're back.
On. We're back.
Look at that beautiful baby.
And
there
so
he is.
there are collective agreements as well, and some of those agreements might be a belief system that there are demons, right? Which gives the vibratory field for those so-called entities to roam and play in. And if we match the field, then we are previewed and we can see and we can interact with those experiences.
Yeah, it's just like when you're a really angry person, and then all of a sudden, like, you have like all these like angry people around you all the time, and you're like, well, why can't I get away from these people? Well, you need to like get out of that and raise up, and then you won't be around them. Those people won't be attracted to you.
Exactly. And what happens when we raise our vibratory field and say we're walking around in a state of joy and bliss and giving and love? Are there any foresaid demons around that you experience?
I think somebody would argue that one of those could interrupt that experience.
Only if the vibration is inside of you.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a vibratory scale. It's called the Hawkins scale of vibration. I think I shared that picture with you.
Ask about that. We've been saying the vibrating word a lot.
Yeah,
so let's
so
talk about what a vibration actually is.
All right, we're all made of frequency, of vibration, right? Of energy that's vibrating at different rates of frequency, all right? That's what vibration is. And we're all that. The tables, the chairs, the trees, the animals, the people, the skies, the clouds, the planets, everything's vibrating at different frequencies, which gives the look and the texture and the appearance of an object. It's what gives it its form, is its vibration, right? Well, thoughts and actions are also vibrations. They all have their vibrations. Words have different vibrations, right? How we feel about things, right, changes our vibration, right? Our belief about things are vibrations, right? And so we have vibrations that are at the lowest, densest form of vibration, which would be like fear and hate and anger and jealousy and the lack of things, and anything that's just in that lower state of anger or fear is all low vibration, right? Then you have neutrality. Then you have all the higher vibrations, which is like willingness to do things, acceptingness, love, joy, peace, enlightenment, right? And so
Is that the scale? What's the? I'll look it up right now on my computer. Actually,
he'll look it up on his
Keep
computer
talking.
right now. And so there's all these different vibrations.
What's the name of it?
Hawkins scale of vibration.
Vibration frequency scale chart or something.
I don't have fucking Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so Dr. Hawkins.
Yeah, hook up to your
You can hook up to my hotspot.
Okay.
So
You
Dr.
wanted to
Hawkins
start
is
that, yeah.
great. Look him up. This is not the Stephen Hawkins. This is a different Hawkins, right? Hawkins. He's got the Hawkins scale of vibration. He's the one that brought that to front, right? And it's basically a scale of consciousness, all right? Vibration is consciousness, and we are all made of vibration, or we are all made of consciousness, right? Now, the consciousness I'm talking about is the field that we are made from, right? Not to be conscious of something, although we are conscious beings and we can think and act and do. But anyways, we're going to round this back up. Based off of whatever vibrational frequency you are at any moment in time, so say I'm angry, right? There are certain thoughts, words, actions, and experiences that naturally vibrate and match that anger. Okay, there you go. I see you pulling it up now. And so when we were talking about experiencing maybe some demonic or angry or fearful experiences, right? Well, your vibratory field matched that experience, allowing it to magnetize towards you to have an organic experience with it.
And probably not only that, probably there was a lot of maybe anger in the house, or
Exactly.
anger between
History.
other people, or
History
in that house where there was like whatever,
Exactly.
low vibrating.
So when I go to a place,
we got the scale on the TV up there.
There we go, right? Yeah. So when we go to a place, right, maybe
you
like
can feel it.
You can feel the vibration, right? Now we choose to enter that vibration by physically moving our body into it.
Yeah. Now
so,
you're entering its space.
So your vibration might not have actually matched it, but you lived or chose to be in that vibration long enough for it to seep into your vibratory field, which allowed you to have experiences, right? It's just like making choices. Like if you go out to the bar every single weekend, again, hey, you know what? We like to have a drink. We like to have a good time.
We like Dwayne's.
But if you're going there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday night, right? Well, that's not the highest vibrational frequency that you could choose. Like there's much higher vibrational frequency environments to go in, and maybe you do the bar every other weekend, right? And like mix up your choice of places because, again, the things we choose to do are also mixing with our vibratory field.
One of the places, or one of the reasons why I chose to live here was because of the way that it felt here. I felt so peaceful.
It's like I can't get away from it.
It felt so healing. And even when I leave, even just to go to Tulsa or somewhere else, like as soon as I get close, I just feel different.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Like when I leave town, like I can feel myself leaving, and like on the way back, the closer I get to home, I can feel like this.
You can feel the energy.
Like
you
the
feel
acceptance
the vibration
of being back home. It's strange.
It's just like, have you guys ever heard like you go to New Mexico, right? And there's a lot of spiritual people over there, right? Because it's on a grid. And that energetic area is actually a much higher vibrational frequency, right? The geolocation of that area.
Where'd you say?
New Mexico, Arizona.
Sedona. I really want to go to Sedona.
Right there, the Joshua Tree.
Yeah.
Right. There's all these different locations that are actually much higher vibrational beings, which is where they're having the most extraterrestrial contact.
So one of my clients actually.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Just got back from Sedona. Her and her boyfriend went out there and they went on this hike. And at one point they were up on this hike and she said, there was like a summit and she just couldn't make it to the summit. She's like, I feel kind of lightheaded and it was steep and stuff. And she's like, I'm going to stay right down here. If you want to go up, just come down and get me on the way down. Well, he went up and she said all the people that went up to the top, when they came back down, they were glowing. She said they were actually like glowing. And she said that when she stayed where she was at, she had like an experience of her own. But after that, she actually saw light orbs like with her eyes, like in real life.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it was in Sedona.
We are naturally glowing high vibrational frequency beings, but in our conditioned way of reality, we tend to hold on to things that are like anchors to our vibration and hold us down into these lower vibratory fields.
Yeah, so kind of like segue into that, to kind of sticking to our notes a little bit. How does somebody change their perception of their current environment in light of everything that we're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of want to backstep to the first topic because it's going to lead into this next one. Okay. And it's the two choices of awakening. It's kind of where we started and we really reeled. We got into religion and spirituality.
That's the point of it.
But we needed to, because those things need to be talked about. And again, we're not just disregarding anything that's in any scriptures anywhere. What we're helping everyone do is to realize that they have the ability to perceive things in different manners. And so the first step is to choose your path, Okay. And
Intentionally.
there's two options, right? Once you're awake and you realize that, oh wait, I'm more than just this body. I am beautiful. I am divine. I am infinite. I am one with the Creator, and I am here to create as I will, while the Creator is living through me and experiencing that. And so the first step is to make your choice. Are you in service to self, or are you in service to others? This is the pathway that must be chosen, the third density. If you do not choose your pathway in the third density, you will not graduate. And you're going to have to start over. And here's the kicker. Earth is graduating. Earth is graduating into the fourth density. And so if you have to reincarnate in a third density planet
You're
again,
not coming here.
it's not Earth.
Yeah, you're not coming here.
Right?
You know,
and maybe that's some confusion with heaven and hell.
Well, I was going to say, so like Jesus is quoted saying when talking about the decisions of people that like you are lukewarm water. You are neither hot nor cold, so I spit you out of my mouth. Which what I hear from that, if you decide to not choose anything because you're scared or whatever, that's bad.
Or you just live thinking this is the only life.
Like literally that exact quote is like he respects an evil person that opposes him more than he does somebody who couldn't fucking choose.
Because at least they believe in something.
Exactly.
And at least you're fighting for
because
something.
they're choosing.
They're choosing, yeah.
Now, so who would be the arbitrator of service to self or service to others? Because couldn't you make any decision be service to self or service to
Absolutely.
others?
So there's kind of like a percentage scale, if you will. So in order to graduate into the fourth density through the service to others path, which means you forgive others and you give for others and you help others be better and you love and you're very giving, and you know, if someone needs help, you help them. You know, if the old lady needs a hand across the street, you help her, right? Like any opportunity that you have to be in service to others is amazing. But in order to graduate, you only have to be 51% service to others. And so you have the ability to say, you know what, this time I'm going to do it for me.
100%.
This time I'm going to do it for me, right? As long as at the end of your life.
As long as it's not just me.
Exactly,
me.
right? Well, and here's a kicker, right? In order to be service to self and graduate into the fourth density, which would be like the negative polarity, let's kind of look at like you have a path to be in service to others of a positive nature, or you have a ability to be in service to self, which would be like a negative oriented nature. If you want to try to control and enslave and demand others to be your servants and do for you as you will, that would be like a negative polarity or service in self. If you lift others and you teach singularity and you are equal as I am and you are made of the same love and infinite creator being that I am, right? That's in service to self. That's a positive oriented path. And so you must choose one.
So to believe that would be assume that there is an arbitrator outside of us that is watching our decisions and saying this is service to self or service to others. So what would be that entity that?
Well, it's not an arbitrator outside of us. It's the one living through us, experiencing equally both the service to self and the service to others.
And you know what? I think to exactly what you just said. So like Jesus in the New Testament took away the law of physical doing of, you know, this is bad and this is good, and actually dealt with the heart of who humans are. It's not that whether you committed adultery. It was if you look at a woman lustfully, you've already committed adultery in your heart. So like exactly what you said. So we are the arbitrators of that. And whatever higher self out that can sense that within us. So anything that we choose to do is judged by where our heart actually lies.
Well, and it's important to realize that duality, or our concept of what's right and wrong, only takes place in a third density planet.
Yeah.
There is no right or wrong in any higher density than third density. There is no wrong in second or first density.
That's why it's so hard.
So,
here.
well, like,
yeah, and the fact that we're veiled, we forget who we are and where we come from, and we have to wake up in this thing.
I was pretty sure when I did my past life regression that this was my first life because it's been some pretty tough lessons, but
yeah,
I was like, this is for sure my first life.
So, like reading the raw material and the law of one, it talks about like wars, you know, in other densities. So there's obviously polarity there still. So this can't be the only existence that we have where we experience polarity.
It's not that we experience polarity
It's how we
in the
experience
fourth
it.
density. In the fourth density, the negative realizes that it's one. It just believes that it's the one and everyone else should serve it. And the fourth density positive realizes that they are the one with all things as one. And so they don't see each other as a dual perspective. They just have two different paths. And at that rate, you know, again, like it does get difficult to wrap your mind around that.
Like, as a lower density being, how could we see that? How could they not know that they're fighting themselves?
Yeah,
Sometimes we don't know we're fighting ourselves. Sometimes we're making choices. We're
Yeah,
literally
but
fighting against ourselves.
They're supposed to be higher than us, right?
Well, here's one thing, right? So we keep evolving up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you hit the sixth density, if you're on the negative oriented path, you get recycled back to first density.
Whoops.
And so that pathway
Restart.
ends because
Game over. Restart.
it's not duality and separation is not what we are.
Yeah.
Only those who are of singularity and love get to continue on.
Well, and I feel like too, like you continue to learn, or you continue to get exposed to the same lesson through different people until you learn it.
Yeah.
And then you upgrade.
Exactly.
You know?
And it's important that you learn it a million different ways and you'll arrive back at the same point every time.
Yeah.
With the ability to share with others now because of your knowledge and experience. But again, the fourth density, benevolent, positive oriented, doesn't look at the negative oriented and go, you guys are negative.
It's not judgmental. It's not a judgmental.
I'm going to destroy you because
Yeah.
you're negative.
Yeah.
What the positive oriented beings are doing are going, no, we're nothing but love. And when the negative oriented negative oriented beings are trying to control us, right? The positive oriented beings come in and refrain them from doing that.
Can I read this one thing right here that it says about Hawkins?
Yeah.
It says the Hawkins scale shares the science behind how positivity truly does support the planet. According to Dr. Hawkins, when you are at the vibrational energy of 500, you can lift up 750,000 people around you.
Exactly.
So, like, that's why it's so important.
And how could you lift them up if you're apart from them?
Right. That's wild.
Right? It's all through singularity. And so the higher vibration you hold, you affect a massive weight of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it only takes a million, like there was like a number thrown out that Aaron Hadke, like based off the number of people on the planet, when like 1 million people reach a specific vibration, the whole planet shifts.
Yeah,
and everyone on it.
Says,
no, you're right. Because
when
just recently reading The Law of One, I think it was in the later end of the first book, they dive into the numbers of that. I don't remember
when someone
off the top of my
hits
head.
700, you positively impact 70 million people.
70 million
And
souls.
700 is enlightenment. I mean, 500 is love. 400 is reason. 350 is acceptance. Going down the scale, 310 is willingness. So, 250 is neutrality. So at least if you're willing to think about what you can do better and how you can do better, you're already moving up.
Well, it's kind of like, someone calls you, hey, Shannon, can you come help me move?
Yeah.
Right? And we're like, what day?
I'm out of town,
Shit.
bro.
No, can't, hey, Shannon, do you think that you might be able to go pick up my sister or whatever? Like...
That's still willingness. You're still thinking about it. You're not like, no.
Yes, but if you don't at least 51% of the time say yes, well, then you're not willing.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be all. But, okay, so we have these two different paths, right? And we can kind of understand that. And so the first choice is to choose, what path are you on? And I think you're going to know, like, as soon as you realize, oh, wait, I have a choice. I can be positive or I can be negative. I can be servicing to others or servicing to self. You're probably already aligned on one of those pathways. You just haven't awakened to the realization that you're on one of those pathways. And if you do awaken and you go, oh, wait a second, maybe I'm not really being in service to others, you have the choice now to hop on a different path.
So what do you think are the two biggest tools that Christians use to make people feel bad for things that they do, off the top of your head?
Make people feel bad?
Yeah.
Well, the idea of you're going to go to hell.
Which would be...
Like, well, if...
Judgment.
judgment. If...
shame and guilt right?
Shame,
those are
guilt,
popular
judgment.
ones.
Those are low vibrational
They're
frequencies.
the lowest. They
Yeah.
are 20 and 30.
To shame someone,
Oh
to
my
guilt
God.
them. At
They're
first
the
I was
very-
like, curveball. And then she came back in with the home run.
She's pitching to herself right now.
Yeah, exactly. She's lob.
Bunt.
Yeah.
Just a bunt.
Yeah. No, you are absolutely right. Right.
And that's so crazy that's, I mean, not to bash Christians, but I mean, two of the most terrible things they can do are guilt and shame people into behavioral changes,
I
which
love
is
where this
all
is
that it
going.
really is a behavioral change, not an actual like awareness of the choices that you're making and how they affect your life.
Behaviors and beliefs, right? Great topic for tonight. So like Shannon was saying, right, and she used a topic, right, Christians specifically, right, when we get to talking about things, typically that conversation, when you're kind of being a little combative with their belief system, it turns into them judging or shaming you, right? But it's not just Christians, and I don't want to just point on Christians, right? Anyone and everyone.
To that, we live in the Bible Belt, so that's
anyone and
Also
everyone,
raised extremely
right?
Christian.
When you first awaken or realize that, oh wait, there's more than what's going on here, right? And I'm made out of vibration, and I have the choice to be in service or not in service, and I have the choice to choose the vibrational frequency I wish to be, right? The most important part right then is just let's really assess what vibration am I, right? And we need to ask ourselves that question because, again, realize that everything's happening internally. It's just reflecting externally back to us to signal and to tell us what we're doing and to bring information so we have the ability to choose a better pathway. And so judgment and shame, right? We are just conditioned robots to judge everything outside of us, and not just judge everything outside of us, but judge everything inside of us.
Yes.
How do I look?
It's a reflection.
How do I feel? Because they're doing it. And we utilize right now, the idea of awakening is realizing that there's nothing outside of us to compare ourselves to.
Right.
Right?
And I think that's like a real slippery slope with
Real
social media too,
Mhm.
because like
That's part of the
that's
social media
part of
creation
the
was
whole
to
thing.
divide and separate.
Yeah.
Right?
Because you're looking at something else and you're like, oh, I don't measure up to that, or
Exactly.
I wish I could do that, or wow, that person is doing this, and that's just
And it's just an illusion. It's just a holographic illusion that, you know, and science proves this now. Anything that we're talking about, you talked about sources. Go dial in ResonanceScienceAcademy.com. ResonanceScienceAcademy.com.
We'll put that in the link in the
Link it.
description.
Okay. These guys are the actual people writing all of the mathematics for how the world works, right? So when Newtonian physics came along, Isaac Newton, right? Our whole world was built off of that physics, right? We can take a rocket and we can pinpoint land it wherever we want because of Newtonian physics, right? Well, just like Newtonian physics was discovered at that point in time, or even better, the magnetic field, when we discovered the magnetic field, which you cannot see, you can't see the magnetic field, but it's how all of our technology runs, all of our cell phones, computers, TVs, vehicles, everything in the world, our technology as current that we are privy to, all is based and runs because of the magnetic field that is an invisible field.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're sitting here telling me that you don't believe in something you can't see, well, then that makes no fucking sense because everything you used is based off something you can't see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything. Okay, so let's just let go, right? That's the key, is to let go. And let's open our minds and be willing to see and hear and experience different information than what we have in the past. And through that experience, I want you to make your own perception. And so, how do we change the perception of our environment?
I was about to segue into that.
Okay,
The original question.
The OG.
you drop your belief system about anything and everything and be willing to go study and learn and experience new things,
Other ideas.
right? And through your experience, you will gain your new truth and perception.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so again, quantum physics, epigenetics, This is one of the most beautiful.
What is epi?
So essentially epigenetics, and Shanna looked this up for us, but essentially what epigenetics states is that our environmental signals, right, control the genetic sequence or the expression of our genome.
That's why the emotional coding that I was going to do with hypnotherapy, that is what epigenetics is. It's like when you have generational stuff that gets passed down in your DNA.
And we have the ability to change our genetic sequence. So there's another really great audiobook. It's by, I can't remember his name, but it's called The Belief of Biology, or The Belief of Biology by Dr. Bruce Lipton.
We started listening to that together.
Yeah, Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton, The Biology of Life, or Life in Biology, or something
Lipton
like
the tea.
Yes, Bruce Lipton. Incredible. He wrote his own books. He does his own audio. He's very captive when you're listening to him. It's very easy to listen. And he actually goes through all of the sciences from the very beginning and what our ideas were and how it came along and who were the people that created it and what technology and how through evolution and time these different sciences have evolved into what we now know as quantum physics, right? Which is, or what they now call unified science, because in the past we separated the buckets. We put biology over here and we put physics over there and we put geometry over there, and none of them really interacted with each other because they only studied them separate from each other. Mm-hmm. Well, quantum science and unified sciences have now brought all of it together and have all the mathematics that don't just answer like closely, but they come out to perfection in every manner. Right?
Interesting.
And so look these things up. Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Hawkins, scale of vibrations, right? Epigenetics.
This right here says about epigenetics. It talks about the binding of epigenetic factors. They cause these, they're called histones, histone, which are tails of the DNA. They kind of like loop up. And those tails cause cancer, autoimmune disease, mental disorders, and diabetes.
Well, I feel targeted right
Me
there.
too.
Yep.
I do too.
Well, for the mental disorder part?
No,
or?
just the diabetes and the autoimmune disease. We're fine mentally.
So
no.
speaking of like diabetes or like any
Seriously.
illness or condition
Yeah.
in any state or manner, right, or capacity, whether it's terminal or not, and a lot of people might get upset about this.
Obviously, some of it is like.
But you have the ability to heal yourself through the understanding of epigenetics. And so the environmental signals, right, which would be the places we're in, the people, right, the boss that is yelling at you every day and makes you feel a certain way, the food we eat, the drinks we drink, right, the poison that we're dumping into the earth and then
absorbing through our bodies and all of the food that's genetically modified.
Right? Those are all environmental signals, and our genome is expressing based off those signals. And so they really realize that like the skin itself is like a brain. In the past, they thought the brain was like the all-knowing like creator of everything. Well, they realized that the brain is just a switchboard, right? And that we have this neural network and we have these sensory neurons that are in the brain that hold memory. Well, those same sensory neurons, right, are also in the heart. And the heart and the brain can actually communicate to each other. And then they realize, oh, wait, these same sensory neurons are in our gut, right? So the brain, the gut, and the heart can all talk to each other, and the environment, right? And then they realize, oh, wait a second, they're also in the skin. And then it's like, oh, wait a second, we're just made of these things.
You know,
I feel like they're
we're
all
literally
over.
just like a tree. That's how trees, feel,
Exactly.
communicate, and talk. Like
they communicate under the ground to each
Because
other.
we're all connected.
That's right. Can
and
I tell
that's
you?
what we graduated from.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And so, we have the ability. So say I show up every day, right? And the kids at school are yelling at me and bullying me and telling me that I'm worthless. And I go home and I just cry and I just repeat to myself, I am worthless and nobody loves me, right? Well, that is an environmental signal that you're giving to your body to make you more worthless. Okay. Now, how do I change the perception of my environment? Right. Well, the next time I see that bully, I'm going to punch him right in his face.
Right.
As a kid, that might work.
That's how we were raised.
As a kid, that might work.
No.
Right. But now, right, it's important that when something confronts you, such as someone bullying you or being mean to you, it's important that in that moment you stop that signal, that internal signal, you know, and instead of going home and crying and getting in a bunch and just repeating what they're saying, I'm worthless, I'm worthless, I'm worthless, right? You got to learn to stand up for yourself, right? You got to learn to shut that little voice down that's agreeing with him, right? And you have to learn that I am greater than what these kids are saying. I am greater than what this voice in my head
or
saying.
Looking for reasons that confirm what that person is telling
Exactly.
you. Yeah.
And find new ways to see yourself outside of that habitual signal. And what happens is in that moment, when you put the barrier up against those negative expressions towards you and the negative expressions you impact on yourself, you go, hey, you know what? No longer am I going to accept that. No longer is that going to affect me. You know what? Actually, matter of fact, like I have a lot of beautiful friends that do love me, and I have a family that loves me, and I have best friends that love me. These little people right here, I'll never see them again in my life. I am worthy. I am worthy and I am great. And what you'll notice is that those kids will just dwindle on. And then something else comes in. Right? Now that might be well, you know what? Everyone grows up and bullies go away, right?
Not really.
Not really.
They don't.
If you don't allow them to.
Right.
Right? If I choose to continue growing and continue down talking myself, maybe the bully turns into a boss in a different environment. And that boss just always gives me a hard time and just never really gives me any credit. Right? And then maybe I still just keep in that mood and that vibrational frequency, and I quit that job, I go to another job, and the next boss is the same way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you know, we've talked about this before too, and the lessons that you refuse to learn, like you push away to try to run from them,
come right back
the
to
universe always brings them back to you
because there's something there
it's
you
trying
need
to force you to learn it.
Yeah.
Well, probably because
because you
in
match the
whatever
vibration.
whatever afterlife experience, you're like, I need to learn this lesson.
Yeah.
it's just you trying to teach yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, I think that's true in anybody's life. If you refuse to face any problem, if you can get away from whatever problem you're running from, it'll always present itself in some other
shape,
manifestation,
form, or fashion.
It always happens, and until you confront it and gain the wisdom from what you're running from, that's the only time you'll never face that problem again.
And the only way you get out from under that lesson is to shift your perception about the lesson, right? And so make amends.
It's not happening to you; it's happening for you.
Exactly. So make amends.
So, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was making the shift from being convicted by religion and to what we're talking about now. And the hardest thing is facing problems that we're talking about right now.
I would always be like, why is God doing this to me? I'm a good person. I make good choices. Why are these things happening?
Yeah, that's a good topic because it's important.
Or, I think this is the biggest one, is I can do nothing and hand it over to God, and He's going to solve it for me.
That too.
And
those are two totally different topics in the same essence.
But that's the same polarity that anybody that's going through a divorce choices. Or a cheating husband or whatever.
So let's tap on this. Let's start with Shayna's, right? You get into a situation of divorce, husband beating you, right? Whatever it may be. In your mind, you're upset, you're at a low vibrational frequency, you're crying, you're fearful, right? And you say to yourself, why is God doing this to me?
Well, God wouldn't want that for you, number one.
Right. Well, here's what I say to that, and this is going to stoke some fires, right? God's not the one doing that to you. You are,
because you're staying there.
Everything
100%.
You've ever experienced, no matter if it's murder, beat, rape, whatever it could be, the worst or the best, you created for yourself to experience.
100%.
And that is a realization of acceptance of where I am here and now.
Yeah. And I've actually I've been through that. So but I'm grateful. I can actually say this with I totally mean this. I'm grateful that it happened to me, because what I learned about myself is something.
Change the whole universe.
It changed my life. And I promised myself that I would help anybody that came to me in that same situation, because that was I feel like it's my job.
Well, and because you accepted that and you had that realization, your vibrational frequency lifted, and you don't even have to help anyone, because you've already helped hundreds of thousands of girls not have to go through that.
Right.
Purely based off your vibration.
Right.
You shifted into a world where less women have to go through that.
Right.
You need do nothing to lift the vibrational frequency. And now this jumps into your topic.
Well, that's also
And
a Bible verse right there.
I struggled.
You need not fight. Just be still and know that I am God.
That I am God.
Uh-huh. That I am God.
Right.
Right? And even like when you repeat that scripture, you know, you need do nothing just to know that I am God. Like you're saying that mentally to yourself. Right? And so, okay, now let's flip over to the topic. And then Nick said that I need do nothing other than to hand everything over to God. And this is a tricky one. And through the spiritual journey, you're going to come across this because it's kind of like a reeling back first to nothingness and then reeling forward into everythingness. But you're nothing while you're everything. Okay, so hear me out. A lot of the people in the spiritual community arrive at this state to where they're like, well, I am no one, nowhere, no thing, nobody, right? Which is a very important state to achieve, right? Because it's all mental constructs, right? What I've come to realize is that these are all mental constructs. And it's kind of like when you're learning a new thing, right? You always are like coming up against these new experiences and that new thing. And then you finally like master that thing, or you think you master it. And then you look back and you're like, oh, I didn't even really need to do all that. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
And so like you have that kind of experience in this awakening. And so first is like awakening that, okay, there's something more out there, more to me than what I believe it to be. Second is learning how to let go of judgment and attachment, right? Stop judging everything outside of you because you think it's outside of you. Stop judging everything inside of you because you think that what's outside of you is different than what's inside of you, right? And stop attaching to things. Well, what is attachment, you may ask, right? Well, attachment is words and repetitive thoughts that we label things outside of us with. That's attachment. So if I label something and I say that's a chair, well, I'm attached to the idea that that's a chair.
You know, let's go into attachments a little more. Okay. So how intricate can that be? How
studied psychology.
Just the idea of man, I have to go to work today.
Oh, that type of attachment.
I mean, anything.
Okay.
Like, what is really holding you back from the life that you want to achieve? How do you practice this? So, just that. Like, if you are unhappy with anything in your life, no matter what it is, there's always a certain attachment that you feel like you have to be doing that is something that you don't really want to do. You know?
Well, and think of it this way, right? If something keeps happening to you that makes you feel like you don't really want to do it, but it just keeps happening, well, that's the telltale sign that you're attached to it. Yeah. And all you have to do for it to stop happening to you is to let go of the idea of why it's happening to you.
So how does somebody let go of a deep-rooted attachment that could affect their life? Like what in your opinion, what would be the process of letting go of anything?
It's a lot easier said than done, okay? But all you have to do to let go of attachment is to stop thinking about it.
Yeah, and then all you do is think about it.
I know that's way easier said than done, and they're going to go, that's it? That's it? Well, yeah, stop thinking about it and then get back to me. And you're going to realize, you're going to awaken and realize that.
Well, and then you realize how much time you are wasting thinking about said thing.
Or we could say creating said thing.
Right.
Through your thoughts, your actions, and your deeds.
How many people have dedicated their whole life to keeping the lights on in their house or having some type of image in a house in a cul-de-sac, whatever, like we talk about, being house broke, and they have to constantly keep working and doing stuff that they hate, dividing, wedges in their marriage between their kids to build something that really doesn't matter.
It's very easy. It's because they created that life so they could continue to experience it until they awoken to the true fact that they have the power to change that. The truth is are you willing to let go of the thought process of that? And can you, once you let it go, create a new perception about your life? I could be the most ass poor broke person in the whole world in a dirt floor in a shed, and I have the exact same opportunity to change my life as Donald Trump or a multi-billionaire that has everything that they could ever wave a stick at, you know? And so it was just the experience. I came here to level my soul up. And so if you're in a level 10, deep shit, broke ass, donkey loving, toilet hugging, dirt floor crib, well, then you, my friend, have the opportunity to take that arrow and sling it in the positive direction higher than anyone else in the world.
Oh yeah, you got nothing else to do, bro. Like if you're down there, like unless you just like it there.
I don't know. I think like some people just don't want it bad enough.
Well,
Like
most people are just conditioned to it.
no, they're just conditioned to comfortability.
My
And,
dad
like,
was broke. His dad was broke. His dad was broke. We're just a poor family. We grew up on the poor side of town.
Poverty
And this
mindset.
is my belief system because I am a product of my environment.
Well, and then when you look around, and then that is what is confirmed for you, then you just accept it.
Well, you know what it means to be asleep, right? We've been talking about being awake.
Yeah.
Well, if you're asleep, then you're just a product of the environment. If
Yeah.
you are awake, you are controlling the perception of the environment, which is changing your genetic expression, which then creates a better experience.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That was good shit. Really good shit.
That was a good one.
So, you know, like getting back to all this and stuff we wrote down, identifying high vibration choices.
Yes.
Ooh, yes. Tell us
You know,
about
so
those.
like we're talking about these different life scenarios and stuff, and you know, like choices, duality, whatever you want to do. How do you identify a situation to where you can like realize like, you know,
What choices to
like
make?
what direction you're going with the choices?
I think a lot of people just don't aimlessly go through life.
Because they're not awake.
Well,
They're
and it's
asleep.
like, I know for myself personally, like,
Yeah, but there's
I
nobody
never-
that like just wants a bad life for themselves. And,
No,
you know? So
nobody-
how would you help somebody identify a situation where like, you know, this would be the choice, as small as it may be, could reset the trajectory of my whole life. So how do you identify a vibrational choice? What would make that low or a high vibrational choice after you decide
like
to do
peace
it?
over chaos? Like
Yeah,
if you're
it's easy.
picking a thing that makes you
Well, sometimes
live at
chaos
peace,
could be the
there's-
high vibratory pathway.
Really?
Dude,
Right?
I would
And
say
so-
I like thrive in
In
chaos.
chaos?
I find more peace in a chaotic situation when I realize everything around me
Because
is
you're
chaotic.
ADD.
I don't mean like a physical chaos thing. Like when
No,
when
I'm
I
calm.
lose, like
I am calm in chaos. Like
extremely
if
bad-
there's a super chaotic situation, there's a crisis. It's not like I thrive in that environment. It doesn't bother me at all. But you know,
And
that's
another
because I
person
have-
might be in that same chaos and it just completely dominate their vibratory
100%.
experience.
100%.
so yeah. So like,
Right.
how would a
I
like?
think that's just because we got screamed at when we
I
were
get-
kids.
thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dad.
That's a hard vibration to deal with.
It
You
is.
yelling in my fucking face to hold a
I
flashlight.
got this. I got it. I got it.
So yeah, seriously though, like, you know, identifying, you know, high vibrational choices. What does
that look like?
Yeah, what does it look like for you?
It's real easy, guys, okay? But again, and I know I keep touching this, the first step is to be aware that you have a choice and that you are in control of your vibration and the level of experience that happens to you. You can't control who walks in the door in the next moment, right? But you can control how you perceive that person once they walk in. Okay? So it's just, again, about being awake or being asleep. And we know that being asleep means that you're just a product of your environment and you think everything happens to you and nothing happens in your favor, right? And you just live your life because that's what everybody else says. That's what my parents said. And I just am poor because I guess that's just what I am, right? Those are asleep, okay? So when you wake up and you realize you have these choices and you start making the choices, the moment you wake up and say, I am in control of my experience. I am the creator that is creating everything that I experience. That is what I am, right? That's the first step, is awakening to that fact, that reality. Okay, so something comes by and we're trying to live a more high vibrational frequency, right? Well, the easiest way to look at it is, say you have two choices in life and one choice is going to take you down this path, one choice is going to take you down that path. Whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. When you look at those paths, I want you to ask yourself, how do I feel? How would I feel if I accomplished that pathway? Right? And you're going to think in your mind, you're going, oh man, I feel excited and great about that. And then look at the other one. How would I feel if I accomplished that pathway? Well, you know, I'd be in a good spot, but you know, I think it'd be a good one too.
But my family would stay safe.
Well, look,
You know?
whichever choice excites you the most in any given time, act upon that excitement.
Sometimes you have to take the safe route, though.
Well, yeah, so like going back to kind of like what I just commented on there, you know, you have two different routes you can take, and as a man trying to provide for a family of people who can't provide for themselves, what would be a higher vibrational choice? Taking a safe job.
That's
you know what I mean?
Service to others, though.
Well, I would again.
Or could you better serve somebody by taking the risk?
Is the safe job the better choice, or is it the job that gives me the most passion and excitement? And I will tell you, 100 out of 100 times, if you take the choice that drives the passion and excitement in you more at any given time, whatever it is, if it's a hard decision because you're a father trying to take care of a family, if you're a young girl just getting into life and you've got no worries, if you're a 35-year-old single guy and you're trying to figure out what you want to do in life, whatever it might be, every day you're going to have a choice. And when you look at that, ask yourself, which choice excites me more? How would I feel if I accomplished that? How would I feel if I accomplished that? Right? If I'm looking at a job for my family, okay, how would I feel if I did this job right here? Well, I could support my family, but I'd probably be miserable working 100 hours and only getting paid $14 an hour. How would I feel if I was successful and an entrepreneur and I was able to bring abundance and liquidity and a future to my family that I can see and I believe in? Right now, I might be able to walk in that door right now. Maybe that door is going to take me a little bit to walk down, but I know that the experience of the vibration that I just imagined by accomplishing that was greater than the experience I just imagined accomplishing that. And so some might go, well, that's a safer route. Well, I would say then you're living a dual reality and you're in a state of separateness. Because if you can conceive it in your mind, you can achieve it in the physical.
100%.
My mom has always said about me that, like, I'll make a choice that makes absolutely no sense to her, but for some reason it always works out for me, and she cannot understand that. But I never choose what's boring. I always choose what makes me feel alive.
What makes you feel alive, right? What is the vibration of love? When you're in that deepest state of love, it's so blissful. It's like, I can't even grab it because it's so amazing, right? Like, that's high vibration, right? And so when we make choices, if you're just swinging at the hip and not even like choosing, right? You're probably just going down the pathway you were conditioned to go down. If I choose the safe job, it's because I've believed my whole life that I'm no better than just a safe job.
100%.
Right? And that just goes back to your belief system.
Yeah.
Right? And so any moment, any given time, look at what doorways you have the opportunity to go through. Ask yourself, how would I feel if I achieved that doorway? How would I feel if I achieved that doorway? Whichever one gives you more vibration, excitement, and love inside, walk through that pathway. Now, here's the key. When you walk through that pathway, you have to leave every expectation at the door. Because the moment I walk through that pathway, that might be not the safe job, but it's what excites me most. And I walk through the doorway and I go, maybe I should have chose the other one. You just ruined it. You just completely blocked the opportunity you have. And now you're going to be going down a trail that you believe is going to come to a dead end.
Well, you know, so like I guess one of my personality faults is I'm a very bold chooser. I choose to do what I want to do, starting the business, whatever. But dude, motherfucker, I quit a lot. I quit on this fucking podcast. She was,
he didn't quit that good.
Yeah, I know.
Like, in the box.
Dude, I took everything home, and I was like, man,
we still got to reel back and like catch that video feed of him in the truck dealership one night. I can just see him.
Oh my god!
Did you kick anything? And he said, yeah.
I turned on the video right as he was like throwing on the jacket. He did one of these numbers right here, and put the hat on, and walked out the front door. Okay. That's all I saw.
Okay, guys.
I want to see it.
Listen,
so bad.
But the experience that I have, like going through that tumult,
so bad.
you know, and there definitely is that. But like, I guess like I have like when I quit, like I guess when I say quit, like that night on the podcast, like I'm fucking done with this. I'm sitting in my car with the podcast equipment about to drive home. I was like, like I don't know if it's worth it at all.
Yeah.
And like so
and
like
you came
I
home
get
to your
home.
Supportive wife.
Yes. Yeah,
Don't
very much.
hesitate.
No, well, I mean, like very, very supportive. Just let me be. So, like, and a lot of people, one, don't understand the frustration of trying to create anything, what kind of business it is, actually taking that risk and putting your nuts out there for everyone else to just bash. It's very hard. And then, like, experiencing like for me, like quitting.
It's kind of like
when
failure.
I guess like I felt like I failed because it was like I had no guidance on what I was doing or anything. And I've gone through this step multiple times in other business ventures and stuff, but experiencing the quit, I guess doubting myself, like you said, like ruining the experience.
Judging yourself.
I was very much so, but I wouldn't be where we are in this building right now if I didn't experience that, just me personally, through that one experience. Because I remember sitting, like, so I got home. And I just poured a huge giant cup of tequila, and I sat in the fucking bathtub that she made for herself. I was like, just get out of here. I'm just going to sit here. And
I love that. Get out of here right now.
Yeah.
I'm stealing that bath
I
water.
sat in that bathtub, and I took a sip. And
bubble
like,
bath.
Which at this point, I was like, you know what, Shane, take all the podcast equipment, and just light it on fire, just get it the fuck out of my face. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to get a whole podcast studio, and I'm just going to double down.
I want to notate a very clear point on this, right?
Yeah.
This is amazing because this is a pure example, right, of living and experiencing the vibrational frequency you were meant to experience at that time and fully
Like embracing
experiencing and
Yeah.
embracing that anger. If you're mad, be fucking mad.
Absolutely.
If you're upset, be fucking upset. That's not what we're saying. We're here to experience the full range of vibration. However, leave it at the door.
100%.
And you were able to have that vibrational hit, experience the vibration to the full maxity, and then you were able to transform the vibration into a new creation, and you walked through and you left that behind. Mm-hmm. And yeah, maybe the next day you thought about it, right? But then it kind of turned into a laughing fact. And then you arrived at, because you were able to let go of the attachment. Mm-hmm. Right, that is an old distortion inside of Nick, and your higher self, which is you, is going, all right, he's really making some headway here. He's starting to really raise that vibration. Let's give him reason of everything. Let's give him every reason of why not he's ready. To go to the next level.
Yeah,
and they go,
why not to quit?
Here you go, Nick. Here's this. All podcast equipment failure for 24 hours. Let's see how he handles that. Right? And so you handled it, you felt it, you experienced it, you transmuted it, and you shifted into the next experience without it really affecting anything.
I think the key to like when you start
I never really thought about it like that, and that helped me really process a lot of shit that I've been through last year. That's pretty much exactly how the fuck it happened.
Mm-hmm. I think when you like gain self-awareness like that, it's almost like we'll use anger for an example. It like comes up, you see it, but you're outside of it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So like you acknowledge, yeah, I'm angry about whatever, but it's like you're looking at it. Mm-hmm. And then you just move through it. You like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you know that it's happening. You're aware of it. Yeah. And then you just move on. And it doesn't affect you or your life or anything like that. It's not destructive. It's just a feeling.
Yeah, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be transmuted. Mm-hmm. We are that energy. And so, and to talk about our higher selves again, they're in the 6th density, right? We're literally, there's a piece of us, a piece of our soul in like every density and dimension. I believe that. And one of them I know that for sure we're in the 6th density. When you get to the 6th density as a soul, you turn back and you are the teacher, the guidance, the one to help all the soul essence of every dimension that is below. Well, we're here in this 3rd, 4th density transition in our higher self, right? And the great I am, right, or the Elohim, talked about in the Bible. I believe that we are the children of the Elohim, right? And so when I say that I am this new vibration, or I am, this, and this is what I am, right? Well, they're going to give you every reason of why you are not, right? Because you're holding on to those attachments and beliefs. Well, here's a belief that you had, Nick,
right,
of why you are not,
right.
And the idea is whenever that happens, the energy, boom, the anger, the frustration, whatever it may be, the jealousy for some, the judgment of some, right? Whenever that energy strikes, right, in the moment, it's okay to feel and live and be that vibration, right? The important part is that you don't act through the vibration. Right. You don't make an action with
another
the body.
Bible verse: in your anger, do not sin.
Exactly, right? You want to be with it, let it happen, and then move by on. Not forcing action through it and something that you would so-called regret, right? Something that you might do that you would regret. You might say something. Like if you would have come in all angry and upset, and then Shana had this beautiful bathtub ready for you, and you just start lighting her up and telling her she's worthless, right? That would be you acting through that anger.
Right. Mm-hmm. He literally said, he's like, I just need to be alone for a minute. I don't want to say anything like that would hurt your feelings.
A true master.
True master. How aware. Thanks, you know guys. What I mean? And then he took a bubble bath. And when he came out, he was fine.
And he was able to sit with it.
Yeah.
Right?
I sat alone, butt naked in a bubble bath, a little pee-pee floating to the top.
Put everything in perspective.
You couldn't see it. There was an inch full of bubbles.
Yeah. And the inch is all it takes to cover that motherfucker up.
Lavender oil.
Yeah, love it. Love it. This is a great example, though, right?
Yeah, for sure.
When we're presented with all of the things in our belief systems of why we are not worthy or why we are not able to do something, right? The name of the game is to let go of the attachment to that, right? So we bring it up into our awareness, or it comes through in an experience. It causes a charge of emotion, whatever that emotion might be, right? And it's going to cause a reaction of thoughts to begin happening, right? And even those reaction of thoughts are okay in the beginning, right? But then it's important that we don't let the familiar emotion cause the familiar thoughts into familiar actions
that are
right?
habits. Yeah.
Stopping the action is really that's a first change in your environment, because when the emotion happens and then the thoughts happen, but all of a sudden the action stops, well, right there, you just change the signal. Mm-hmm. Because what the body is wanting is to do the action that's going to cause more of the emotion, which is going to cause more of the thought, which is going to cause more of the action. It's this endless loop, this cycle. And so first is when the energy strikes, just don't do nothing. Just sit with it, be with it. Go get naked in a bubble bath, right? And contemplate your thoughts.
Seriously, I gotta give myself a timeout sometime.
The next step, right? The next step is that whenever the energy strikes, that you don't have the familiar thoughts, right? That you let go of those reasons of the thinking that's attached to that emotion. Mm-hmm. And then the next time when the emotion strikes, now you're just looking at the emotion. You're going, I love you, and I'm here with you. And I thank you for allowing me to feel this and let this go.
That's what I'm talking about.
And then no longer the emotion strikes.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a 1, 2, 3 of stepping it up.
Died. I was going to keep it on my pretty face then.
Yes, sir. Hey.
There we go. Yo.
Love it. And so, yeah, that's some really good examples of letting go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good stuff, man. I think we absolutely fucking killed it tonight.
Crushed it. We actually lifted it. We didn't crush it.
We didn't lift it.
We lifted it. We expanded our minds, our consciousness. And probably everybody that's listening is going, wait, there's a whole lot of information that I was just exposed to that maybe I should go look into. And so, again, I would read back, find out the people, Bruce Lipton, Dr. Hawkins Vibrational Scale, Resonance Science Academy. We're going to put some links in the things. Epigenetics, quantum physics, unified science, the law of one. Look up all these things. Look up the Emerald Tablets. Look up ancient Egyptian scriptures. Look up anything and everything that you can start to put your brain and eyes and body into and just 100%. Feel it.
And you know what? If I have to say anything to end this one, guys, no one's going to hell.
No one's going to hell.
If it was so important that God would judge humanity that way, Genesis 1:1 would have been the 10 Commandments. And he would have said that instead of 1,000 years after the Garden of Eden. So jot that down.
We're going to move into a beautiful golden age of thriving civilization, and everyone's going with us, you know, and some will be there a little bit quicker, but it's just important to realize as soon as you wake up, you're there, you know?
Make good
Guys,
choices.
we're going to wrap it up, and let me tell you something. If you see one of our diesel trucks in your mom's house driveway, just keep on driving.
Hey.
And that's it, boys.
Diesel Daddies out.
Bye-bye.